I have got a question for Councillor Manley, but seeing as Councillor Jones is in the chair, I'm only too pleased to pillory both of them. Will you not both agree with me that the proposed new area programme boards, which have just been out for consultation, is in fact economic development and not area and neighbourhood working, and as such, Councillor Manley, should fall within the remit of your portfolio, which is prosperity and regeneration? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. They are quite definitely not economic development. They are about trying to work with our partners to deliver effective services at a local level and dealing with the priorities of those areas. And one of those priorities may be economic development. And when you look at the map of Ellesmere Port, which you see here, and the yellow bits are shaded, they are the areas where there's huge levels of deprivation that we need economic regeneration. So it might be that the Ellesmere Port area neighbourhood working will deal with things like economy, supporting economic development, supporting regeneration, dealing with antisocial behaviour. They may be the priorities, but it's the partner's responsibility to set those priorities, working with local members, and that's what I would encourage them to do.
Thank you. I would support what the leader said, but I mean, it is important that we have economic regeneration on the agenda. People are very interested in economic regeneration in all parts of the new authority. The boards we've had in Vale Royal have always come round. There's been a discussion on economic development, what it means for the future, what it's going to do in the changes in those communities. Because what we're trying to do in prosperity and economic regeneration is just not put factories there or workplaces there and provide living accommodation. We're talking about prosperity for the future, being sustainable, being able to encourage all people to participate more within the society in which we live, being there to actually raise their expectations and give them the opportunity. We can't force them, we should never be forcing people, we should just give them the opportunity to expand what they want to do in a way they want to do it.
Thank you very much for that answer. But it didn't clear my mind, and it certainly didn't convince anybody else here that probably is not quite as up to speed with it as we are. With the proposed membership of the area programme boards, with only a very limited number of elected members, with input from the PCT, with input from the police and other community groups and voluntary bodies, could I ask, Chairman, where the funding is coming from for these area programme boards? And while I'm on the seat, Chairman, can I thank you for your tolerance?
Well, first of all, I think one of the main aims of these boards is to get away from the silo working that currently exists in many councils. And therefore we need to work across all our different departments to deliver these services locally. I'm not quite sure which bit you're referring to, this economic development, because only last night had we a briefing to try and bring together the responses to our consultation. And there are some very good ideas in that, and clearly this is fairly good, up-to-date news now, because it was only discussed last night. But we're looking at a better way of funding. At the moment, in Cheshire, for example, it costs something like £400,000 to give £360,000 worth of grants. Now, we don't want that sort of level of inefficiency. So we are looking at an idea of maybe giving members, ward members, money to invest in their wards. And that could be £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 each. So, 3-member wards, you could have £20,000, £30,000 to invest in your ward in what you think the priorities are for your communities. That could be used for economic development, it could be used for supporting the local village hall, it could be used for all sorts of other things, even your local schools, because now we are responsible for all these things. We are looking at area forums so that there is that debating opportunity and representation opportunity where members can organise a debate in the local village hall to say, this is an issue here, it might be regeneration, it might be policing, we'll get the police there, we organise the various parties, there is a debate and a public turn-up, just as we do if there's a major controversial planning application. And if we can get the sort of attendances to these very important subjects, like we get attendances for planning at local meetings, then I think we will have succeeded in really delivering quality area working within our community and, most importantly, communications within our communities. That's not economic development, that's common sense, it's moving forward, and it's actually creating a new agenda. And we base this on a lot of learning that we've done. We've sent people out to East Ridings. There's a 4-star council for community engagement and involvement. We sent a team of people out to Tyneside as a 4-star council for community engagement. And we are building on some of the very good practice that we've come across, plus the responses from our partners and all the organisations that responded to our working. So it is some very innovative thinking there, which I'm quite pleased to see starting to develop. But it is very early stages at this moment in time. I say we only had the briefing last night from our officer. It was a good quality input, and we're going to start building on that now in the coming weeks.
In relation to that, is there anything else, and any of the public like to ask a question? You start back.
Martin Naylor, I chair the Ellesmere Port Education Improvement Partnership. Are these proposals that were in the consultation, are they it? Because there is tremendous concern among the schools in Ellesmere Port that they will break up existing partnerships.
We certainly don't want to break up existing partnerships because that's the wrong thing to do. Where it's looking as it's turning out now is the preferred number is 5 areas for these partnership boards. How the area forums work underneath will be determined by the local members. But we're looking at 5 boards, and they will cross in some cases other boundaries. Some people are prepared to change those boundaries to meet these new boundaries, because these boundaries are based on I can't remember what they're called now, the hate jargon, middle superabundance areas. But it allows the government to measure performance in these areas. And so it's based on those boundaries, and it's a combination of those boundaries. And it works out about 5 seems to be an efficient number. And where we can probably put planning into that level, so Ellesmere Port will deal with planning, Cheshire will have its own planning area, and so on. So it really does bring planning much more to a local level. Licensing we are discussing, that is possible as well. Because licensing feeds into antisocial behaviour and other issues as well, you see in terms of crime and disorder on the streets. So we can bring that in and actually see if we can solve some of the problems with that as well through our licensing policy. So I'm hoping that we won't cause any problems with existing partnerships. And I do know that we have a meeting, Arthur and I have a meeting with Joan, with the representatives from Ellesmere Port Yard, which I suppose might include you. And I look forward to that discussion so I can understand better some of the issues of Ellesmere Port, which I am learning, but I know a lot about Chester, I know very little about Vale Royal and Ellesmere Port, and I'm trying to get up a learning curve for that, so I look forward to that meeting.
Gentleman on the left and then the lady.
So I think this is sort of Councillor Jones. There is a perception in Ellesmere Port that because we have 3 different areas that are joined within this new authority, each of them have their own needs. It sounds almost like a generalisation to ask this, but how, in such a short time, are you going to accumulate the information, balance and prioritise in each of those different areas without 3 different parties vying for attention, saying that our area deserves this, we should get this, our area deserves that, they should get that. I mean, I'll give you an example. I am looking at the council here and at the council employees, and I'm thinking that if too many of those council employees disappear, there's a great knowledge of Ellesmere Port is going to disappear with them. Now, is that something like that going to be taken into consideration? And that's to Councillor Jones.
I think that's a very good question. What we've said, I'll start off with the people side because that's very important. But what we've said is we made 2 decisions about office and office locations. The first decision was we want to make the headquarters in Chester initially at County Hall. And the reason for that is because County Hall is a 1930s, 1950s building. It's built like a 1950s building, as you expect. And if we all move into there, my concern would be we inherit the county culture. I don't want that. So I want to see a new council that has its own identity and develops its own culture, its own way of doing things. I do not want the county, Chester City Council, the Vale or the Ellesmere Port culture. Now that's going to take some years to get there, and if we move out of County Hall, which I hope to do, and we sell it, then and build a new office that's a bit more fit for purpose for that sort of development of that culture, that's going to be some years away to achieve that.